With Frieza returning to compete in the Tournament of Power, what would be the outcome if Frieza encountered his parallel opposite Frost in a one-on-one battle? What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to another Dragon Ball Super discussion video, where today I am joined by two very special guests, that being Emish is Live and Devil Artemis. You guys can go on ahead and check their channels out down in the description below, as we're here to talk about Frieza versus Frost in a very interesting topic and discussion. And again, if you guys feel differently about what we're about to say, you guys can go on ahead and throw your thoughts in and comment down below as to what you guys believe is going to happen when Frieza encounters Frost. Now, boys, this is a very interesting topic and a very interesting subject, because many fans within the fandom are going to be on the fence about this and saying, well, half of them would agree in saying Frieza would be able to defeat Frost, while we do know of others that would disagree in saying Frost would stomp out Frieza. But I wanted to get your overall initiative thoughts on this, because now that Frieza is set to return in episode 93 of Dragon Ball Super, and him having to be the 10th fighter, I wanted to get your overall thoughts as to who you believe would win, in your opinion, if Final Form Frieza battled against Final Form Frost. We're not going to talk about the Golden Form just yet, because I do think it's safe to say that if Frieza were to use his Golden Form against Frost, I think it's easy to say that Frieza would stomp Frost out. However, I think it's safe to say that, and it's fair to only put them up in their final form. So, Devil Artemis, I want to start with you. What are your overall thoughts on Frieza versus Frost? Do you think it'll happen? And if it does happen, which there is a good chance of this actually going down, who do you think would win if we saw Frost and Frieza battle in their final forms? What do you think?
Well, first off, I want to thank you, Alex, for having me on your channel again.
Thank you.
I think that this is a good topic, and I want to talk about Frost in particular. I feel Frost as a character, he was going at it with base Goku, and from what we've seen, he couldn't handle Super Saiyan.
Right.
And I feel like he's at the level where he's having a lot of difficulty with Super Saiyan, and Frieza, I feel like with the training that he did, the immense jump in power that he had, it's more than enough to, it's safe to say that Frieza would definitely beat Frost in the battle. Now, are we counting the 100% power form?
I would say no, because looking at the movie and the arc, Frieza didn't have any need to tap into that.
Right.
A part of that is because he already knew of a new form, but disregarding the Golden Form, in which we're going to talk about in a bit, we're only going to be counting both fighters in their final forms.
Well, from what I've seen with Frieza's skills, I mean, I feel like Frieza is a more technical fighter, and he's probably has more techniques than Frost. I feel like Frost, what he has really on his side is his numbing agent, his part of his body, that needle thing in his arm.
The needle, yes.
Yeah, I feel like that is really, really dangerous, but I don't feel like that's gonna really help him against Frieza. Really?
Why?
Well, I mean, Frieza, I feel like their race has something with paralysis, because Frieza also has I forgot what the name of the move was, where he paralyzed Goku and sealed him in a ball.
Oh, right, when they fought on Namek, right?
Right,
yeah,
right, exactly. And like he started to just he paralyzed Goku completely, and then Goku couldn't move. He put him in this key ball and launched him all over the place. I mean, I feel like their race is a very interruptive type fighting style. Like they make sure that they harass you either from afar, or they have moves that just immobilize you. You know, Frieza's always focusing on hitting somebody in the limbs, firing a death beam through your leg or something like that. Like, I feel like Frieza, their race in general is like that. So I would picture that if you're gonna put the Frost Demons, which is what I'm referring to them as, against each other, I would think that maybe there's a possibility that Frieza could be immune to Frost's poison. There's a bunch of things that can go into account, but I think generally, flat out, that just Frieza is stronger than Frost. I mean, that's what I think.
I think that the only downside to Frieza, looking at how he fought during the Namek saga, looking at when he fought in ROF, he drops his guard. He does drop his guard, because throughout the entire time when he fought Goku on Namek, I think it's safe to say that he could have destroyed him, but he was toying around with him based on pride. We saw how he was torturing him, per se, and that led to his downfall after Goku became a Super Saiyan. And similar to ROF, when he was flaunting at Goku and he was telling him, give up, what's the matter? And Goku said, well, you're the one that's burning out the energy while you're fighting me. So we've seen displays of Frieza being overly confident, in which led to his downfall, whereas in Frost, when he saw the opportunity to kick Goku out of the ring, he took that opportunity for himself. Even though he could have done the same thing in Flaunt and Taunt, I think that when it comes to overall execution, I think Frost would get the job done quicker than Frieza, because I can see Frieza torturing somebody and inflicting pain and initiating his bravado even more and showcasing more of his ego. Whereas in Frost, I think, is a more cunning person. When he sees an opportunity, he goes for it. Whereas opposed to Frieza, he saw the opportunity, just never took that. Not saying that Frost is stronger. I think in this respect, Frieza definitely holds the advantage over Frost. But Emish, I wanted to get your thoughts on Frieza versus Frost, because we do know that based on our Discord, there are certain people that disagree in saying that Frost is stronger than Frieza for one of many purposes. One reason is someone brought up the idea that when Frieza fought Goku in his base form, Goku never had the motive to transform into Super Saiyan as he did with Frost when battling him, which, you know, goes to show that some people are saying that, well, Frost was able to push Goku just that much more to using Super Saiyan against him. So what are your overall thoughts if Frieza were to battle against Frost? Who do you see having the upper hand between the two, in your opinion?
All right, so first off, what's up, everyone? And it's always a pleasure to you know, collaborate with the two of you.
Man,
so thank you. I don't mean to sound like a dick. I know I do that naturally, but whoever really and legitimately believe, like with solid evidence, right, that Final Form Frost can beat Final Form Frieza, you're on drugs.
Why is
okay? I apologize if that sounds very blunt or direct. It's okay. And we had Goku go Super Saiyan versus Frost. He did it just to push him. He wanted to see what this version of Frieza looked like, or what he was capable of.
Yes.
Right? We know that Frost actually engages in battle in his universe. He appears to be the nice guy. He uses his quote-unquote assault form to take down war criminals, right?
Yeah,
and as mentioned in Universe 6. But they're nowhere near what the Saiyans of Universe 7 were at the time. And this is like years ago. During the time of Bardock, during the time of King Vegeta, even when Vegeta was a boy. Those Saiyans were stronger than the war criminals that Frost is fighting right now. The Saiyans, they can go into great ape form. He had much more on his hand. He had much more on his plate to deal with. You can't even compare the two. There was a completely big difference. The same overall, rotten to the core, but the way they handled things was significantly different. Frieza was a tyrant, and he was proud of it. Frost was kind of hidden in the shadows, trying to portray himself as being a nice guy, but he wasn't. He was horrible. He was a bad person. Then I'm not even going to talk about the numbing, the poison that Frost has, because that's irrelevant to me, honestly. In an actual fight, I don't see him being able to stand up to him. Goku was just trying to get Frost to go straight to his final form, because Frost even said it. Oh, this is my final form. He was referring to the assault version. And Goku said, are you sure? Because the Frieza on my planet was much stronger and had a different form. It looked completely different.
Right.
Looking completely different doesn't mean just based on physical appearances. Looks different means to feel different in Dragon Ball. He looked completely different. He was completely different. Frieza right now, if you want to look at Resurrection F, Arc, whatever, but Frieza right now versus Final Form Frost right now, Final Form Frieza versus Final Form Frost, I don't know why there's such a big, a big difference in terms of ideas right now. Frieza wins hands down, easily, hands down. There's no competition. No competition, guys. And I hate Frieza. And I hate Frieza. You know that. But hands down, Final Form Frieza, Universe 7 destroys Universe 6. Destroys Universe 6. Nothing in Universe 6 is a threat right now.
Right.
Nothing in Universe 6 has been a threat. Universe 7 has had countless threats. Countless. Universe 6 cannot compete with Universe 7, from their heroes to the villains. There's no question.
I was going to ask you, what about based on their demeanors? Because we understand that the way Frieza carries himself, he's overly confident. He's very cocky. His bravado peaks every single time he fights. And similar to what I said, he doesn't seem to understand nor contemplate the idea of what it is to get the job done. Whereas the only evidence we have for Frost in that respect was he was able to take down Goku when he saw the opportunity, because he easily could have been like, oh, where's your Super Saiyan strength now, right? He could have been flaunting the same way Frieza could have in the respect to where if he poisoned Goku, he would have been able to taunt and just, just throw that in his face, but he didn't. He kicked him out the ring, and he moved on to Piccolo. And even then, when they noticed that he was using poison, it's safe to assume that during that time when Piccolo got a hole blown through his chest by Frost, if nobody called him out on his BS, Frost would have gotten the job done against Piccolo as well, despite the fact that whether or not it was the needle involved, whereas I think if Frieza was there, he would have tortured his opponent, similar to how we saw before when he fought various others. But when it comes to their attitude, and when it comes to them actually being presented as fighters, do you think that Frost is overall a better fighter, a better suited fighter based on the way he carries himself than Frieza, in your opinion? No. Devil, what do you think?
Here's why.
Go ahead, Amish.
Here's why. We're looking at Frost from a tournament aspect.
Yes.
Frieza had no need to be in a tournament. He was a walking tyrant. He destroyed a whole planet with his finger. Did we forget about that? He literally wiped them out. So it was a supernova. He was wrecking Gohan in his little space pod. We just talked about this off of camera. And he wasn't even in his final form. He was in his relaxed, nonchalant, I'm Lord Frieza form. You know what I'm saying? Respect me. Bow down to me.
For anyone out there who doesn't know, go back to ROF when Frieza pretty much stopped Gohan's heart when he hopped out of his little space pod and one punched him in the stomach. That's what I'm talking about.
And we can't even put Frieza in a tournament setting. For once, we can now, right? But even then, there's no comparison. Alex and Devil and everybody else watching, there's no comparison. Frieza, Frost was in a tournament setting. Okay, he had to act that way. He had to be the tactical guy. He walked into that tournament not wanting to fight. He walked into that tournament expecting that he can poison everybody and just bump him out the ring. That alone is a big flaw in your character as a fighter. That's a big flaw. It's not about getting the job done. Frieza's been getting the job done for thousands of years since his lifetime. His whole clan, Cooler, whether you want to consider him, King Cold, all of them, they've been getting the job done. The difference with Goku and Frieza is the fact that, one, it was something for us to watch. They had to add to the story because Goku was the chosen Saiyan to take down Frieza finally, and he could have gotten the job done, but he didn't. Goku didn't get the job done either.
Right.
And Frieza was still vicious as ever. He got split in half. He had one arm and still wanted to talk shit to Goku. That alone tells you he's so much more superior to Frost, man. It almost makes me want to cry. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm triggered. I'm not. It's just like it. I get it, right? I mean, we get news about Frieza coming back. Okay, so Frieza versus Frost confirmed. It's safe to say that's going to happen because it's a fan service, right? People want to see that, and it's a genius idea, but. Why? I mean, for what? Because he made Goku and Super go Super Saiyan? No, that wasn't the case. Goku was disappointed. He was throwing Frost around the arena like he was a fucking volleyball. It was crazy, guys. You know?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like Frost. I don't want people to say Frost forced Goku to go Super Saiyan because that wasn't the case. I feel like Goku was kicking his ass without the Super Saiyan form, and he just kind of transformed into the form just to prove a point. Like, you know, he's making a comparison to Frieza, so obviously he was going to turn Super Saiyan. But he was already overwhelming Frost as it is. You know, he was already overwhelming Frost. One thing I want to point out is that I feel like Frost, like Image said, we're basing him on a tournament setting, and I feel like he is very sneaky, and I don't think he has the battle experience that probably
that killer instinct, right? Exactly.
Killer instinct, and the only thing that I would think someone could say is, well, Frost would cause wars. And he would portray himself as the hero.
Deception, using the illusion of deception.
But the thing is, if Frost was causing the wars, obviously he's not going to cause a war with strong warriors. Right. You know, like he knows that the people he's going to be fighting against are going to be weaker than him.
Of course.
You know, or he's only going to transform into a certain form to get the job done quickly and effectively. Like, Frost isn't going to hire, you know, someone like Goku to start, I mean, in terms of power, someone as powerful as Goku to start a war and then not be able to defeat him. Like, he's not, I feel like he doesn't put himself in harm's way how Frieza put himself through rigorous training to go from Namek Saga Frieza all the way to fucking passing Super Saiyan Blue at that point in time.
4 months, right.
In 4 fucking months. Like, I'm telling you.
Speaking of training, you just brought something up. I don't think that this entire time that Frost spent by himself doing whatever, I don't think that he slacked off. I think that based on what he saw firsthand, he had to have done some training, I believe, because you'd be pretty dumb not to go into this fight prepared, or at least battle ready. A quick yes or no answer. Do you guys believe that Frost has done some sort of training in preparation to this tournament? I'm going to start with Devil. Do you believe he did it, yes or no?
I think he did, yeah. But, yeah.
Amish,
I
what do
feel
you
like,
think?
yeah.
If they recruited him early enough, then yes, I would say he had to have improved to some degree. Otherwise, again, there's no point in making him fight Frieza,
right,
if he didn't improve in any kind of way, shape, or form.
This is going to lead me into my second question, which is, we understand that Frieza has a golden form, and more likely than not, he's going to use it. He's going to use it, and
yes,
it's a little hard to say if the same flaw he had with his body pressure, being able to drain his energy, is still going to be in effect. Or maybe whether or not he was in hell this whole time, just thinking to himself, how do I avert this? But if Frieza becomes golden, it's obvious he smashes Frost out the water. Nobody can refute that, unless if and only if Frost were to also obtain another form. I guess for this situation, let's call it Golden Frost, even though I think that it wouldn't be golden. Whatever form Frost reaches next, if he achieves something even higher than that of his final form, similar to Frieza, where do you see Frost and Frieza go from there in terms of Golden Frieza versus Platinum / Golden Frost, whatever it is that he has that's his equivalent to Golden? What do you think? I'm going to start with Emish.
That scenario, then I would say Frost has a better chance. Here's why.
Really?
Here's why. Because this is pertaining to the fact that Frost has been training, right?
Right.
Okay, so Frieza's been dead. He's been trapped in a cocoon. He's been in hell.
Okay.
He's had no time to actually polish up on his skills, to polish up for anything. He's not aware of the tournament. This is where Frost has the only advantage. This is the only scenario I would say it's okay, because it's common sense, right? Frost has had time to improve for much longer than Frieza's had. So if Golden Frieza were to be knocked out by a Frost, I would say it would be due to that, because Frost has had the advantage of being able to train. The fact that he's fought Goku much more recently than Frieza has. But even though Frieza fought Goku in a much more powerful form, Frost would have much more of an agenda or an inspiration to train for a tournament of this magnitude.
Right.
He would understand that these bullshit tactics that he's been pulling off will not work against someone like Goku anymore, or against anybody else in the tournament, because more than likely, I don't think he'll even possess that weapon, and even if he does, I don't see it being as effective. So I think the only thing left over is to help Frost improve, and because he's had more time than Frieza, and this is, again, considering that they've given him a heads up to recruit him, then I would say that's the only scenario where Frost could potentially win over Frieza, because maybe he's had more time to polish up his, I would say, Silver Frost, just because Frieza's gold. So we got gold and silver.
It makes sense, because as you said, Frieza wasn't able to perfect that. That's a very interesting point. Devil, how do you feel about this?
Well,
I know.
No, what Emish brought up was actually, it's true. But the only thing is, I don't feel Frost is as determined as Frieza is. So I don't feel the same value of training that Frost is going to put in is not going to be as intense as Frieza's training.
So you feel the opposite?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you feel the opposite of what Emish said in terms of him having to perfect that, whereas opposed to Frieza wasn't able to because he's in hell?
What, the form?
Yeah, if he does bear a new form.
Well, my point is the actual training to obtain the form is what I'm talking about. So I feel like Frost and Frieza are vastly different characters. One tries to take the easy way, and Frieza, when he deals with the problem, he gives it 100%. I mean, no pun intended. You know, he goes hard. And from what we see most recently, the fact that Frieza, I'm telling you, that's a huge power jump. Think about it. Namek Frieza. Okay, Namek Frieza to fucking Super Saiyan Blue, above Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Even though it's early on Super Saiyan Blue Goku. That is a huge fucking jump in 4 months. That is humongous. All right? That is determination. Frieza is sheer fucking will, bro. Like, if you look at Frieza's determination to get that strong, I still don't feel, because of Frost's character, that he would train as hard as Frieza. I feel like he takes the easy way, and he probably doesn't even know about the tournament. I don't know, like, you know, we haven't gotten confirmation of what Frost has and hasn't been doing. He seems slimy and just he's a deceptive person, like you said. I don't think that his determination is gonna, his training, the amount of training that he's gonna do is going to equal the amount of training that Frieza does. So Frost's 4 months of training might not equal Frieza's 4 months of training. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Frieza's 4 months of training could fucking produce 5 times the results of what Frost does if Frost is wasting his time or not going as intense as Frieza is. Frieza has something to drive him. Frost doesn't. Frost doesn't have anything to drive him. Frost has never ruled a universe. Frost doesn't have pride, the same pride that Frieza does anyways. He obviously doesn't have the pride because he cheats, okay? Frost doesn't give a shit about his power. He doesn't have like a galactic army. He doesn't have the things that Frieza has. Frieza is a fucking emperor, bro. Frieza was brought down by a race that he despises. So he has something that fuels him, that makes him want to get stronger. That's how he jumped from Namek Frieza to fucking Resurrection of F Frieza, all right? He has that determination, that motivation that gave him those gains, bro. Like that's what made Frieza what he is. I don't feel Frost has that. It's not in his character. He doesn't have any of that. Frost
I think that, you know, I personally think that despite all else, Frost has definitely learned of the nature of what Saiyans can do, and just not even Saiyans, but Universe 7. And I think that even after having to be knocked out by your own, you know, quote unquote teammate hit, I don't think that what Frost did this whole time was sit around and just go back to doing, you know, his typical shenanigans. I think that he definitely has trained. Whether or not he can come back and say, well, I've caught up to your Super Saiyan level or not is up in the air, because for all we know, he could have easily either A, surpassed Super Saiyan, but maybe, you know, still remains below Super Saiyan Blue, or similar to Frieza, maybe he did achieve something that's even greater than what we can possibly conjure up, because after seeing 17 hold his own against Super Saiyan Blue, who's to say that if Frost doesn't have a new form as well, he can't also hold his own? But removing the whole Super Saiyan Blue nature, I think that Frieza is at a slight disadvantage, because this whole time in hell, I'm pretty sure he was wrapped up in that cocoon and he can't do anything. He still has that great power, but you can't do anything. So I think that with that, like Emir said, if Frost had been training and he does discover something greater, if Frieza beats Frost down to the point where he flaunts at him and says, you know what, since we're parallel, I'm gonna show you my true power. And if he does unleash his golden form, and, you know, to the point where Frost is like, well, that's interesting because I too also have something beyond that of my final form, and then he introduces something of his own, and seeing them go at it then, I think would speak volumes, because I think that with Frieza having to be in hell for so long, he would burn right through his golden form, which then I think he'd be at a disadvantage, because in this tournament, again, you don't have to be the strongest, but even with that golden power, you can't just toss Frieza to the curb and say, oh, well, he's still going to be a nobody, because he is going to be a somebody, but the only disadvantage he has is he's not going to last long in that golden form.
Right.
But
if I may add to something,
Okay.
Champa will walk into this tournament making sure his characters, his fighters, come correct.
Yes.
Champa is like that, so he's not.
Yeah,
and this is based on us. You know, Frost, come, last minute, join the tournament. No, he listen, Frost, this is what you need to do. Champa is like that. We know Champa is very impatient, you know.
Of course.
So he's very direct. He told Cabba just like that. I need Saiyans stronger than you. Give me more Saiyans.
Yeah, more Saiyans. Yeah.
He's gonna approach everybody else the same way. Like, yo, you guys better come correct, or you know what's in store for you. You know what I'm saying? So based on that, and obviously I agree with Devil as well to an extent. I'm going into this with the context of what this tournament is based on. With that in mind, there's no denying that people are going to walk into this tournament being lazy and half-assing it, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. So I get it. I agree with it. And listen, I love doing character analysis. I agree with what Devil's saying 100%. But this is the tournament of power, universe survival arc. People need to come correct. And Goku made that painfully clear when he showed everybody, when he put his fist in the air and he said, guys, bring anybody you have, I will beat them all. He made that clear. So these guys are going to make sure that every single fighter is capable of doing something in this tournament.
I agree, and I think it's going to be such a great scene to see Frieza, you know, having to stand side by Goku. I'm a little curious if Goku gets put on edge, if Frieza's going to make the save. That's what's going to speak volumes, if Frieza's going to, you know, put his pride aside just for that match to save Goku from being ringed out. But
Right.
I wanted to say thank you all for watching. If you guys have different opinions, for those of you who believe Frost would win, please comment down below as to why. If you guys feel Frieza would win, comment down below as to why. I want to say thank you both for being here, Devil Artemis and Emish's Live. I'm going to go ahead and link their channels down below, guys. Subscribe to them. The community grows through support, so these are two up-and-coming YouTubers that I truly enjoy, you know, watching their content and talking to them off-screen and on-screen. So if you guys are Dragon Ball fans, you truly are gonna love what they have to present in terms of content. Thank you guys for joining me again, and thank you all for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like on the video. If you guys are new, subscribe, and we'll be seeing you all in the next Dragon Ball discussion. And before we go, real fast, Lord Frieza, do you mind closing off this video before we go?
I knew it.
Well, I just have to say that I'm going to kick Frost's ass.
There we
Plain
go.
and simple.
Thank you guys for watching, everyone. Tune in for more. Peace.